Hey, this is Sam from BNS About Movies. Welcome to the podcast. How did we get so far without doing a Jess Franco movie? What is wrong with me? Here's two Jess Franco movies that I would recommend to people that probably shouldn't watch any of his other ones. And let's start with perhaps his best known film, Vampiros Lesbos. Sometimes when you watch a horror movie, you're lied to by a title that promises something that the film can't or won't deliver. Jess Franco does not do that. He promises you lesbians and vampires. He's going to deliver. He also delivers plenty of late 60s style, a space-age jazz soundtrack that threatens to take over your mind. And you know what? I owned this soundtrack well before the movie, as it was re-released in the 90s. It's about Countess Nadine Carody, played by the sadly departed Soledad Miranda, who lives on a remote island where she puts on a seductive burlesque act every night to entice unwary women. Now she has her sights set on Linda, a name Jess Franco uses in many of his movies, who begins to dream about her, like Camila. You know that story. Somehow, somewhere in the midst of all these dreams, Lisa finds Mehmet torturing a young woman. It's probably worth the note that the director of the film, Franco, plays the torturer. Then Linda finds Nadine's house, the former residence of Count Dracula. Linda gets drunk, dizzy off wine. The two women canoodle, and Nadine drinks from Linda's neck. Upon awakening, Linda finds Nadine floating motionless in a pool, and then awakens screaming in a mental asylum. That said, Nadine is alive and explains to her familiar Morpho how Dracula turned her. And now she feels she must turn Linda. Nadine keeps coming back to her, reappearing in the mental hospital. So Dr. Seward, who's Dennis Price from my favorite all-time vampire movie, Twins of Evil, explains that if she wants to defeat the curse, she must split a vampire's head with an axe or pierce it with a pole. No vampire movie has ever had that in it before, but who are we to deny Jess Franco? Let me see if I can sum up the last few minutes of this movie. Linda's kidnapped by Mehmet. Dr. Seward wants to become a vampire. Nadine refuses. Morpho kills the doctor. Mehmet explains that all women who meet Nadine become insane, including his wife, so he must kill them all. Linda instead kills him with a saw, then returns to Nadine. Instead of giving her the blood she needs to survive, she stabs her in the eye, wanting to belong to no one. Morpho kills himself, and finally, Linda's boyfriend tries to convince her it was all a dream. Are you seeking a movie that makes narrative sense? Leave this one on the shelf. Are you seeking an erotic psychedelic freak out? It's my happening, and it freaks me out. With some amazing movie that feels kind of like Ed Wood getting to make a sexier film. Good luck. This is it. Jess Franco forever. This is also one of the films where you have to put your own reading into it. Mine's is that Linda is bored by her life, feeling she needs a man to complete it, and believes that Nadine's free life is her escape. However, she finds out that even women can treat you like a possession, so she destroys her to make her final escape, deciding that a life of boredom could be better than a life of constant using others. But who's to say? Watch it for yourself. Obviously, Quentin Tarantino did a few of the songs show up in Jackie Brown. Our second film is She Killed In Ecstasy from 1971.
Kein Verbrechen, kein Verbrechen, kein Verbrechen, kein Verbrechen, kein Verbrechen.
Wer ist diese Frau? Wer ist dieser Mann?
Dies hier ist das Endprodukt meiner Forschung.
Welche unbekannten und tödlichen Leidenschaften treiben diese Menschen in den Abgrund?
Ein toter Mann wurde für all diese Verbrechen verantwortlich gemacht.
Du Schwein! Du bist eine Ratte!
Yes, this is the same cast and crew as Vampirus Lesbos. Pretty much the same story as Venus in Furs and Miss Muerte. But look, if you made a movie where Soledad Miranda made a movie where all she did was eat a can of soup, 100% I would watch it 10 times. Also, Jess Franco remade the same movie so many times. Most of these movies are about women who lose their minds, learn to love being wanton women. There's often someone named Linda. There's often diamond thieves. There's jazzy nightclubs. This happens again and again. Sometimes there's a female vampire. Sometimes there isn't. Sometimes it's in a castle. Look, when you make a couple hundred movies, do your thing. This time around, Soledad is Mrs. Johnson, the widow of a scientist who was doing unethical experiments with human embryos that led to a medical committee rejecting his work. God, say that sentence again. Leading to his depression and suicide. She does what any of us would in this situation. She hunts and kills everyone. One by one, Professor Jonathan Walker, played by Howard Vernon, Dr. Franklin Houston, Paul Muller, Dr. Donine, Jess Franco, and Dr. Crawford, Uwe Stromberg, are all part of her revenge. Of course, she can't kill Uwe Stromberg without a love scene. There is no way that Jess Franco could not have Soledad Miranda and Uwe Stromberg in the same movie and miss getting them to kiss. Before this movie was even released, sadly, Miranda died as a result of major head and back trauma from a car crash. She left behind a son, a husband, 30 movies in 10 years, and a hole in the life of Jess Franco, as she'd been the muse behind some of his best films. In this movie, she is the center of the world, a dark-eyed shadow of a woman destroyed, yet willing to take out that pain and give blow for blow, scorn for scorn, doom for doom, with interest compounded liberally. It's just 80 minutes, with artsy angles and a great soundtrack, something this also has in common with Vampirus Lesbos. I would call this prime Jess Franco. Looking for other films by him that you would like? Oh boy, it depends how deep you want to go. Do you want to go into Killer Barbies versus Dracula territory? Probably not. Do you want to go into the era of his film shot on video camera in hotel ballrooms with naked women and no story? Probably not. So I would go with Venus in Furs, 99 Women. Reach out to me. How about that? bnsaboutmovies@gmail.com. Let me learn a little bit about you, and we'll maybe figure out what Jess Franco would be the next film for you. I am by no means a Jess Franco expert. Much smarter people than me have written books. I just like movies. I just like watching them. I like talking about them. You can learn more about the movies I talk about at bnsaboutmovies.com. And while you're there, take a look at the other films. If you'd like to sponsor the site or the podcast, I'll do a whole episode just for you. Rate this, ring the bell, all that stuff you're supposed to do on these content creation things. I don't know. Nobody listens to me talk about movies. My wife's sick of hearing about it. Nobody wants to hear me go on and on about Jess Franco, except for maybe you, as you're listening to this now, doing whatever you're doing. So I want to tell you thank you. Thank you for being the one person willing to listen to me today. You don't know what you've done for me.